What is up, YouTube? HPJ here, and I'm giving you guys the last of the first of two starter decks for Yu-Gi-Oh! Speed Duels, and it is the last of the three for the starter deck, Destiny Masters. It would not be one if we didn't talk about the holder of the Millennium Necklace, since she was definitely included in this set. I'm actually very quite surprised that Ishizu was included and how they took Ishizu, because Ishizu has a long history of things that have changed for her deck. Not to mention, once they finally did figure out something for her, her deck literally jumped to tier 0 status, and they had to hit every card in it because of how broken it was. No, it actually wasn't even Gravekeeper, which is a deck that they definitely tried to fit onto her for the last, I don't know, 15 or so years. It wasn't until later on in which they changed it after the release of um, the Speed Duel starter deck. And with the number of things, the number of things that were included for Ishizu, I'm actually quite shocked how much of a change it was. So while we go ahead and we talk about Miss Ishtar and the overwhelming amount of support that she has when it comes to her and the Gravekeepers. Now, they didn't give her a hollow card of Gravekeeper to fit in her Ultra. They just gave her the golden apple. I don't exactly know why. Maybe because it's a relic of the past. And Ishizu's that does focus on, well, those who protect the relics of the past, which are the Gravekeepers. So, Golden Apple is a normal trap card that says, you take battle damage while you control no monsters. You'll gain it as life points, which I guess negates what you would have taken. And then you create a Malos token. The Malos token is a level 1 Dark Attribute Fiend type monster with question mark attack and defense. The attack and defense of this monster is equal to the amount of life points that you gain by this card's effect. So it's a pretty decent trap that just produces a pretty decent token. To where it can either stop another attack from coming in on you, maybe produce a monster to be used for a tribute summon, or just another beat stick. It really just depends on how things play out. I guess with Ishizu is supposed to fit for her being such a historian, and mind you, a lot of the stuff that Ishizu focused on when it came to her decks and stuff are very weird. Because initially, Ishizu was going to start off with a light beatdown deck. They had a whole bunch of these in the previous games where she was in. Then they turned her into, well, they continued to be light beatdown till about maybe Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship 2004, where they gave her a combination of light monsters, life point game, and then like one of her boss monsters was Guardian Joan. It's very weird. I don't understand Konami with that. It wasn't until Nightmare Troubadour where they decided to give her Gravekeeper, which is also funny because at a point they ended up making an entire structure deck and then gave that to Merrick with Gravekeeper reprints. And then in most of the games where she shows up in, they gave her the Gravekeeper archetype. Then they gave some of the cards to spread out between herself, Merrick, and Odeon. So it's a very weird combination of things that still puzzles me even to this day. But hey, if you want to do that, go right ahead. Just know that it kind of just makes her longevity weird. But just like the others, she is the holder of the Millennium Necklace. It allows her to foresee the future and events of the future. The one time that we see Ishizu uses this in terms of dueling, it actually backfires on her because the Millennium Rod counteracted Ishizu's prophecy and showed Kaiba a future in which his Blue Eyes White Dragon was supposed to is going to help him win the duel. So he then tributes Obelisk the Tormentor and tributes Gadget Soldier to then summon Blue Eyes White Dragon and win him the duel against Ishizu, which was the only duel in the series we've ever known her to actually see and play out. But according to Merrick, Ishizu's actually a really good duelist, and she has a lot of really good strategies, but her main strategy and lineup, funny enough, focuses around her deck that does the exchange of spirits, where she switches the graveyard for the deck for the main deck of both you and the opponent. But I believe a certain amount of cards or life points have to be counted for. But remember, Exchange Experience had to be errata because it was way too broken. Because it really was way too fucking broken. I'm not even gonna lie. It makes 6 cents look like a damn joke. Actually, no, kind of on the same par. Anyway, so we're gonna take a look at Ishizu's cards now because we're only like over 5 minutes in. So, starting off with Ishizu, yes, you do have, of course, just like in the other two, a list of the cards that would be showcased in it. But we're going to be talking about them ourselves. So, starting off with the monsters, and this is a very long monster lineup. We have the 1 copy of Gravekeeper's Curse, followed by 2 copies of Gravekeeper's Spirit Soldier, a copy of Gravekeeper's Vessel, a copy of hold on, because I rarely touch these cards, so they're going to be like all over the place with this. So 1 copy of Gravekeeper's Vessel, 1 copy of Gravekeeper's Chief, 1 copy of Gravekeeper's Cannon Soldier, 2 copies of Gravekeeper's Assailant, 2 copies of Gravekeeper's Priestess, 1 copy of Gravekeeper's Recruiter, 1 copy of Gravekeeper's Shaman, and 1 copy of Gravekeeper's Oracle. Then for the last of the monsters in the deck, ironically enough, is a copy of Cat of Ill Omen. So that is it for all of the monsters in the deck. Now we're going to go on into the spells and traps, which are very, very, very limited to what they are. 1 copy of Gravekeeper's Stell, 1 copy of Hidden Temples of Necro Valley, and 1 copy of Sebek's Blessing. Then for the trap cards, we have, of course, the signature card of Mr. Ishizu Ishtar, Blast by Tribute, Rite of Spirit, and the Eye of Truth. So that is all the cards for Ishizu in terms of her deck. That's a total of 20. Then for the skills, she has Persistence, Gravekeeper's Lot, and Millennium Necklace. So yeah, Ishizu plays with Gravekeeper for this build. It's a pretty decent amount of Gravekeeper cards, I'm not going to lie. But from what I've seen and suspected from this, they didn't really know what to do with Ishizu, so they just gave her Gravekeeper. That's pretty much what it is. And I mean, it's still not bad, but it's like cohesion, guys, cohesion. So, the Gravekeeper archetype, as we all know, has a longevity of things. They have a range of effects that can easily do, but most of them do resolve around Necro Valley, which I guess in a weird way they did at least try to solve that issue without actually just giving flat out Necro Valley. So, Gravekeeper's Curse is one of the few monsters in the Gravekeeper archetype that has the ability to inflict damage. When this card is normal or special summoned, when this card is summoned in general, it says inflict 500 points to your 5 points of damage to your opponent. Gravekeeper Spirit Soldier is able to inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent, or as Magic players like to call it, trample, when it attacks a defense position monster. If you stack up enough points on it, this thing can be pretty nasty. Gravekeeper's Vessel. This monster is able to inflict, when it inflicts battle damage to your opponent, it is treated as effect damage. So, what is up with Gravekeeper's Vessel? And to give you guys just a brief history of this. In Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, before Konami stepped in because some of the babies were whining, that there was an FTK deck with Gravekeeper's Vessel. You use cards to power up one particular monster to exponential amount of points. Then you would transfer the powers over to the Gravekeeper's Vessel or the Piranha Army. Then from there, you would use a spell card to allow them to attack directly and inflict a ton of points of damage to your opponent. Because of this situation, and Konami being jerks about it, because some of their influencers were being whiny little babies about Gravekeeper's Vassal strategy and the whole setup for it, which is something that you've even encouraged in your own card game. That they had to limit a lot of the cards that were supporting the deck, which caused more players to try to build different variations of it, to the point where Konami just said, yeah, once we start limiting cards, you only have one of that limited card and you can't run other limited cards in the deck. So it made it very hard to actually play the deck overall, and at that point people just gave up on creating those variations of OG farmer decks for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. So if you guys have anyone to hate for it, do hate the Yu-Gi-Oh! Influencers who cry like little babies to Konami about it. Anyway, so that's why Gravekeeper Vassal is what it does. Gravekeeper Sheath brings back the Gravekeeper's cards from monsters from the graveyard, ignoring the effects of Necro Valley. Gravekeeper's Cannon Soldier is here to inflict damage to your opponent by tributing another Gravekeeper monster. Gravekeeper's Assailant. This monster is here to switch the battle position of an opponent's monster. So, while you have Necro Valley on the field. So it can, switch the defense position monsters into attack position with probably their very low attack stats, so you can wipe them out. Or switch them into defense position and then wipe them out in defense because their attack may be too high. Gravekeeper's Priestess. She is basically the spitting image of our queen, Miss Ishizu Ishtar. And the whole thing about Gravekeeper's Priestess is she's treated herself as Necro Valley. So basically that helps you with the issue of playing Necro Valley. I do believe Speed Duels did get Necro Valley itself, or even in a card that treated itself as Necro Valley, to help also with Ishizu's issue of not having Necro Valley outside of Gravekeeper's Priestess. Which we could have ran another Priestess, but that also means buying another deck or so. With internals to Gravekeeper's Priestess, she does give 200 attack and defense to all Gravekeeper monsters on the field. Next up is Gravekeeper's Recruiter. You guys remember Recruiter from was it Star Strike Blast? It was a TCG exclusive. This monster allows you to search your deck for any Gravekeeper monster with 1500 defense while it's sent from the field to the graveyard. Gravekeeper Shaman. Gravekeeper Shaman gains a defense equal to the number of Gravekeeper monsters in your graveyard. In addition to that, she negates the effects of all monsters who activate their effects in the graveyard, except Gravekeeper monsters. And then while there's a field spell on the field, while Necro Valley is on the field, your opponent can't activate field spells, and field spells cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effect. This is a great way to play duck and dodge and protect the Necro Valley. Other than that, this monster itself is a really good defensive wall. I do believe Gravekeeper's Shaman, Gravekeeper's Recruiter, and Gravekeeper's Priestess are also to be based off of the Ishtars themselves. Shaman representing the mother, Priestess representing Ishizu. Odeon is based off of, is what Recruiter is based off of. And I do believe Oracle is supposed to be based off of their father. If not, I think it's Gravekeeper's Chief. Gravekeeper's Oracle is the highest static Gravekeeper monster overall. Has 2000 attack and 1500 defense. This monster gains various effects based off of the number of Gravekeeper monsters used for its summon. It can easily be summoned if you tribute a Gravekeeper monster without setting it. Now, as far as the following effects go, for the number of monsters that were used for this monster's tribute summon, if it's 1, this monster gains attack equal to the combined attack of all monsters tributed for its tribute summon, times 100. Its second is to destroy all set monsters your opponent controls, and its third is for all your opponent's monsters currently on the field to lose 2000 attack and defense. Basically paving the way for stuff like Gravekeeper Spirit Soldier to attack the monster in defense position and then inflict piercing battle damage to it. This is overall, I guess, a sequential basis of a boss monster, but I feel like Visionary and them probably could fit in better. Overall, in terms of the monsters in the Gravekeeper archetype, this is pretty solid for GK. And I mean, if you want some extra recruiters and you don't feel like paying for them, there you go. Just buy 3 of these starter decks and you can get 3 Gravekeeper recruiters. And possibly some other Gravekeeper support cards. The last of the cards for the monsters is Cat of Ill Omen. While Necro Valley, you can search your deck for any trap and add it to your hand when it's flipped. But its other effect is that if Necro Valley is in play, thanks to Gravekeeper Priestess, that's not hard to do, you can add the card straight to your hand. So it's a way to just get to your traps as soon as possible. But if Necro Valley is on the board, you can easily just put them into your hand. Moving on from there are the spell cards. Gravekeeper's Stale. This is basically just to bring back your Gravekeepers, and it can be negated by Necro Valley. Hidden Tombs of Necro Valley. This card is supposed to prevent the special summon of all monsters except for Gravekeeper monsters while it is on the field. The thing about this card is if you combine it with Gravekeeper's Priestess, basically there is no way to special summon anything because outside of Gravekeepers because this card is going to be in play. The next card is Sebek's Blessing. Sebek's Blessing states that if you inflict damage to your opponent from by a direct attack, you gain it as life points. This is a way for decks that use Cyberstein to gain back the life points that they paid for when they summon monsters like Cyber Twin Cyber End, and even Blue Eyes Ultimate. While those were a lot of life points at the beginning, basically if you could set up the filter where your Cyber Slime could take out something, then your dragons would be able to. Then you'd be able to gain the life points back that you use. Thanks to Cyber Slime. So it's kind of one of those things where you're just trying to get things situated to gain back the life that you paid for this big combo that practically just took one monster and a lot of stuff to do such. Then we have Blast by a Tribute. This is just to mess with your opponent whose decks focus on Tribute Summon and making sure that whatever monster they played gets destroyed, and then you get inflict 1,000 points of damage. Like I said, Ishizu's deck has a lot of weird aspects to it, and they definitely tried to spread on this effect damage / burn and recovery. Gravekeeper, Right of the Spirit, aka the Gravekeeper special summon card that summons the Gravekeeper. And then the Eye of Truth to kind of reflect off of Ishizu's Millennium Necklace, where it can see the cards in your opponent's hand. If they have a spell card in their hand, they gain 1,000 life. Which, like I said, pretty niche card. But it's there just to make a reference to Ishizu's card, as well as it having the same symbol as the Millennium items. Now, going on into Ishizu's, the lineup of cards for Ishizu's skills cards. They're not that bad. They're pretty good. They're pretty based. But they just have their own focus on two things. Foreseeing what your opponent has, or setting up for your Gravekeepers and your Necro Valley cards. Let me put this in the middle properly. So the first thing up is Persistence, where if your opponent's life points are twice as more as your life points, to activate this skill. Then you may look at the top card of both you and your opponent's deck at any time. The second one is Gravekeeper's Lot. While you control, you only activate this skill during your next draw phase. During the draw phase, you can either search your deck, you can look for any Gravekeeper card and add it to your hand. But once you do, you turn this over. The requirements to activate this is that you have to have at least 1,800 more life points. No, lose 1,800 or more life points. Which can easily be done, but it's really just here to help you go get a Gravekeeper's card. So, it is to that situation. Then we have Millennium Necklace, which is a reference to, of course, her Millennium item. At the start of your opponent's turn before they draw, you may look at the top 3 cards of their deck and then arrange them in any order. And you can only use this effect per duel, basically to just previous whatever strategies or setups you had coming on. Well, that's the biggest thing. To just look at all the stuff here. Honestly, this is probably the most random conjunction of things for Gravekeeper, while also being a random conjunction of things for Ishizu. I really don't understand how much of this works, but it tries. So, that is pretty much it for all the stuff in Ishizu's deck. Now, my overall thoughts about this is going to be pretty simple. While giving Ishizu Gravekeeper, they did at least try to fit in some of the cards related to her in the anime, which I thought was still a really good thing to do. While looking at the lineup and the basis of it, I actually have to say it's a pretty niche deck out of the 3, but it gives us Gravekeeper cards, so maybe you can focus on that and just make things about Gravekeeper, and you can take out stuff like Blast by Tribute and all of that. Just focus on the Gravekeeper aspect of it. I honestly say I do believe there were more Gravekeeper cards added to it to help out with that, and this is a pretty solid thing, focusing on Ishizu and her aspects of being a Tomb Keeper. With that said and done, guys, this is the last of the starter deck Destiny Masters for Speed Duels. It was nice doing the first half of these starter decks with you, and my overall opinion of them is that they're pretty good, like I said, for starts. And this is just a gateway open into the realm of Speed Duels. Now, if you guys have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section below. And if you guys have anything you want to contribute, like what's your favorite Gravekeeper monster, and do you like what Necro Valley has done for the game and stuff like that, you can leave that in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell to be informed of when I upload more content to the channel, while my social media links are in the description box below. And you guys can catch out my previous content and more new content by looking at the playlist around. Thank you guys so much for watching. HPJ signing out. Take care.